And he said lock her up, just for the record. Mark Lauder is here, former special assistant to President Trump. Ashley Pratte Oates, political commentator, and a former Republican is with us. Rule number one, Mark, in politics, when your opponent is floundering, just don't do anything. Just sit back and watch it happen. Why, after 10 years in politics, has President Trump not learned that lesson?
Well, and I would even add, I mean, Sunday morning on the Fox and Friends program, he had actually asked about his retribution and his revenge, and I thought he gave a great answer. America's success will be my ultimate revenge, will be the ultimate retribution.
Wait, so, and then 2 days later?
And then 2 days later, and we'll go back to the Sunday morning when he talked about America's success being the best revenge. And I do think he was talking in retrospective when he was talking about looking back and how everyone wanted him to do these things. And I do think as he pivots forward, it's got to be about America's success.
He won't let that happen, though, because it's the Trump show. That's been the problem all along with his politics, is it's his ego rules everything. Everything is entertainment. It is the Trump show. And that's his background in entertainment that has led him to where he is, and that is why he orates the way he does, because he knows it will garner support. So basically right now, as we just saw, the Georgia polling, right, has him... Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
He's up a point with independents on.
Nobody cares that an independent jury, which I'm sure some of them must have been Trump supporters or voters, put their...
I'm not sure how you get 12 in New York, but okay, go ahead.
Well, point is, statistically, there could be one.
Could be one.
Could be one, but all the votes, 12-0, every count. So point here, right, is people put their political views aside. As Americans, that's our judicial system. And the party of law and order, so-called, is now allowing a convicted felon to be the party's nominee. Not only that, but support lawlessness by saying, let's prosecute our...
Yeah, no, that part I mean, just can't figure out. So, Mark, this is the question. And you actually said the Trump show. It's interesting because in the 1980s, Donald Trump gave an interview to Playboy magazine. I don't know if you've seen this, where he said it's called the Trump show. It's sold out everywhere. Are we at a point, perhaps, where Donald Trump is more concerned about his ego and litigating things and what he sees on television than he is with winning?
No, I think he's actually building the coalition to win. I mean, right now you are still coalescing a Republican base, which is massively behind you. The record fundraising post-conviction, it shows that the American people, a majority of the American people, including a third of the new small dollar donors being first-time donors, that means people who were not donors in 16 or 20 are now saying, enough. I'm supporting this guy. We've got to get him into office. And as he starts moving forward, as we start going into the summer, the conventions, the fall, it's going to come down to inflation. It's going to come under the border, like you said. And I think that's where the messaging will be.
Yeah, look, if it's a referendum on Joe Biden and inflation and the border, Donald Trump wins. It's fairly simple. I think we can kind of all agree on this. So, Ashley, what does the Never Trump movement do to stay relevant when you have an electorate now that clearly is more angry about what's happened in Joe Biden's record than they are concerned about what crazy things Donald Trump might say?
I mean, that's a great point. I've been called crazy all along, but then he gets convicted and I don't feel as crazy anymore because the things that were said all along was that he wasn't doing anything wrong or illegal. Well, he has been. And in many ways, he was doing it to fuel his own ego and his own candidacy. And here we are now where people are donating to him when he's been bankrupting his entire donor base. Like, yeah, this is a scheme. Like, this has always been a scheme of Trump's where he gets people to buy into something. Trump steaks, Trump wines.
I get it, but it works. And I think there was a tweet today about the Georgia polling that showed Donald Trump up in Georgia after the conviction. And there was a CNBC anchor who tweeted out bonkers, as if it is bonkers that this were to happen. And at some point, I thought, is bonkers what deplorables and people who cling to their guns and religion do? I don't know if this is a winning strategy from your guys' perspective, is it?
No, but why is Nikki Haley still garnering 20% of primary votes when she's not on the ballot anymore and Trump is? That tells you right there there's enough independents and never Trump people still left in the Republican Party who feel differently and feel like Trump is unfit to be the president of the United States and to be the standard bearer of the Republican Party.
He says he was...
So at that point, then, you're just basically saying we're fine with inflation, we're fine with the open border, we're fine with the wars.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying...
Because that's the choice.
Are the Republicans now saying that they're the party of law and order, that they have been all along, because that didn't happen on January 6th and that didn't happen now?
Good. We were doing so
We were
good.
doing so well.
We almost
got there.
We were on balance.
almost got there.
You know?
All right.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.